everybody. My name is Maria. I am the captain of the USS Stella Pirata, and with me today is two of my crew members, Dennis and DC. Thank you guys for joining the show today.
Hey, no problem.
All right. Okay, so for the episode today, we are going to be talking about Best of Both Worlds, Part 1 and 2. And the person who picked this episode to talk about was Dennis. So I'll start off with you, Dennis. Why did you pick Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2 for today's discussion?
Well, when it comes to Star Trek history with Best of Both Worlds, it was the season 3 finale, and Part 2 was the season 4 premiere. It was the first time in Star Trek history that there might have been a problem with contracts because Patrick Stewart's contract was up. And they were either going to kill him off and promote Will to being captain, or they were going to do what they did.
Right.
Well, I'm glad they didn't promote Will to captain.
Right. How different would this show be without Patrick Stewart?
It wouldn't have lasted a 4th season.
Patrick Stewart's amazing. He's on another level. He is another level actor. So
they would have bring John Delancey back in, snap his fingers, and reset everything.
Yeah, Patrick, you're back. Awesome. I rewatched this episode. It has been a minute for me to watch this episode, and there was a couple of points that I really liked about this episode. One of the things that I really like about this episode, I first wanted to start off with, was Commander Shelby. I thought she was a very interesting character. Like coming on to the Enterprise and like basically like, all right, well, I'm taking your job. Like that's mine, And I really thought that was a very interesting because think about it, like in Star Trek, have you ever seen that gun-ho-ness, like really upfront gun-ho-ness about wanting to push your career? Like have you ever seen that? Like, I mean, she was very forward, like letting you know what she was aiming for, to advance her career.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that always struck me was Shelby, how she acted.
Yeah. With the way she acted, the only other character I've ever seen be that straightforward actually was B'Elanna Torres in Voyager.
Okay, yeah, she was pretty forward. Yes.
Yeah, I love B'Elanna's character.
Yeah, B'Elanna's cool. Yes. But yeah, and Dennis, what's your thoughts about Commander Shelby?
I mean, she was ahead of her time. The character was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I mean, back when the episode first premiered, I was 11. I'd say that was like in 90. So it was like, not only was it the first episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation that scared the shnikey out of me.
Right, the shnikes, yes.
I mean, and seeing Commander Shelby come in and be like, "No, Data, I'll be the first officer."
Right.
Because technically, in this session, Will becomes captain, Data the first officer.
Right.
Because Data was the second officer.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
But just that scene where the Borg are putting the implants into Picard, that drill going to I'm like,
oh yes, that was crazy. But what got me more was actually seeing the tear coming down Stewart's face, Picard's face, because that just like his humanity, that was like the tear of like his humanity just being taken away from him. I'm like, dang. Yes, granted, I agree with you, Dennis, that whole drill going into eye, but what got me more was just seeing that single tear and what that tear represented. I was like, oh man. So And so like, yeah, so like that was definitely impactful. And also what I found like interesting in the episode 1 was how they ended it. And I was irked because here it was, they were building up, and then like you saw Locutus right on their viewer screen, and then they're like, end scene. I'm like, no, I gotta wait until next
You gotta wait 4
season.
months.
You cruel person. So
Yeah, that was a long wait.
that was a very long wait. And then, of course,
like
he had all the
4 months
rumors that Patrick Stewart weren't going to come back. So then you had that extra worry,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah. So are there any other like things you want to bring up in episode 1, or do you want to go to part 2?
The one part, this might be actually in part 2. So yeah, let's just go to part 2.
Let's just go into part 2. Okay.
Yeah. When so with part 2, when Locutus addresses the Enterprise, everybody's like in shock, and you could see Worf's like, oh crap, what the heck just happened?
Right. Yeah, because that was like a big process for everybody, because here they were so close to Picard. They want to rescue him like they were trying to do in episode 1, in part 1. I should say part 1. In part 1, they were trying to rescue him. And I also, just to bring up another piece of part 1 I really liked, was that dialogue between Guinan and Riker. And like Guinan came in, like, you need to let him go. You know, like, he's gone.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, but yeah, but that's like what, you know, like what Dennis just brought up about like Worf, like, oh my gosh, what do we do? You know, like you see your commanding officer, but then you know he's gone.
Yeah.
You know.
But is there like Dr. Crusher has performed miracles before?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so they, you know, this was only the second time too we saw the Borg. Because like the first time was the episode with Q, because he was the one who introduced the world to the Borg.
The Borg.
Yeah. And so we were just starting to learn about this new race, because we only had one previous interaction with these people. You know, so I also thought that was really cool too. Like they were starting there, like in part 2, they were really showing like the advances that they have had some knowledge now of the Borg race, you know. So that was pretty cool. And DC, was there anything like in part 2 that struck you, or do you remember that was like kind of cool?
Well, you know, the one thing that struck me was they had that really good plan. That how they were going to attack the Borg. And then, oh crap, Picard knows the plan, which means they know the plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, guess what? You got to throw out the book. I think Guinan said that. I think Guinan, you got to throw out the book. You know. Or yeah.
You can't go by the book anymore.
Right. Yeah. You can't go by the book.
You got to go straight up Kirk on this thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So that was some really creative thinking, and that was like really good, because like earlier, you know, like when we just recently talked about like the Shelby Riker thing, because Shelby brought up some good points, like you feel safe, you don't want to, you know, like to risk anything, and it really showed that when crap hits the fan, you know, Riker can do it, you know, like he can, you know, think outside the box and do what he has to do to save the ship.
This 2-part episode, looking back now after Nemesis, this made me realize that this was a test for Riker to see if he could command.
Oh yeah, most definitely. But yeah, but in the end, as people know, like he decided to stay on the Enterprise. I mean, come on, that's like the top-notch ship of all of fleet.
Another 15 years.
I don't blame him. Yes, so
either.
Yeah, it's a sweet gig. Why mess something nice? So
at least at that time he wasn't in the woods making pizzas.
Yeah, exactly. He was actually doing something else. Yeah. But I also liked at the very end how actually Riker was willing to sacrifice the ship and go kamikaze and crash into the Borg to save Earth.
Yeah.
But at the very last second, Picard was able to just say a simple word of sleep to Data, and then Data's like, no, he's not saying that he's tired.
Yeah.
And he was able to send that subroutine or whatever that wasn't highly guarded by the Borg and just put everybody to sleep.
Yeah.
Night, nap time.
Night.
So I thought that was actually pretty cool too as well. And yeah.
Another thing about it is Picard is such a strong character, and to see him helpless,
yes,
powerless to do anything about what they were doing to him.
Right. And you begin to say, I'm glad you brought that up, Dissy, because you began to see like him processing what he just went through at the very end of part 2, where he went in his wedding room and he was about ready to drink his Earl Grey tea. And then he just looked out like it was like planet Earth. They were like right by Earth and everything. And you like, oh crap. Like that was the very beginning of him processing it. And then like the next episode, Family, that's when he broke down, like, so you really get to see like because he's such a strong character.
Yeah.
That to see this vulnerability. That's why I love the teardrop, I just like, wow, that was really impactful for me, Sometimes it's the simplest things that can be the most impactful. So I agree with that. There's just only a couple instances where that's why I also really like Picard too as well, because I feel that they show his vulnerabilities as well.
Yeah.
I really like that, make him human. So, well, are there any other parts of this episode that you feel that were like really impactful to you, or just like comical? One thing, I'll jump in here real quick. One thing I found comical was between Riker and Shelby, and when Riker and Shelby were in the turbo lift, and because Shelby went to Picard for her plan, and went behind his back.
Yeah.
And he was like, I will snap you back. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was good.
The one thing that this episode makes you actually realize, if you look forward to First Contact.
Yeah.
When Worf was like, oh my God, like in this episode when Worf's like he can't believe what happened. And then if you look at First Contact, you finally hear Worf tell Picard, if he was any other man, he'd kill him on the spot.
Right.
It took Worf that long to process everything.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, so I really enjoyed this episode, and it's been a while since I've watched it, and I got the same chills like when I watched it the first time, like seeing the cutest, like that red beam, just staring right at that red beam. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, the red beam is scary.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's like that's not Rudolph. That's
not Rudolph. We're not going to the island of the misfit toys, ladies and gentlemen.
And that ain't no laser pointer.
Exactly.
I really did like when Shelby said to Riker, I intend to, let the captain know I'm the right person for the job. What job? Well, yours.
Right.
When she said that to Riker, I was thinking, if Troy's around, she'd slap that bitch.
Oh yeah, so
because you know how Deanna is when it comes to the crew.
Yeah,
especially Riker.
But yeah, like overall, this was a good pick. Like this is one of those classic episodes, a good cliffhanger too.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I think it really opened up, like to really see Picard as DC put it, as vulnerable. Like it really, I think it really helped the Picard character grow. To be quite honest, because we were able to see his family, able to get insight on his personal life.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought this was a very good episode for the Picard character.
Yeah. It was an exciting episode. It had a lot of battles in it. I mean, if you like action movies and space battles, it was a good episode for that.
Oh yes, it was. There was a lot of battles. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, DC, because what were your guys' thoughts like when you saw the Enterprise like finally getting to like where the battle scenes, and all you saw were just these ships destroyed.
Yes.
Everywhere. I'm like, insane. Wow.
Yeah, heartbreaking.
I think that was so heartbreaking seeing the Enterprise. It's like, we got here too late.
Yeah.
But then you look at First Contact, it's like the same battle scenes going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the Defiant is the first ship to know that the Enterprise is coming in.
Mm-hmm.
The guy on the at Connor Ops on the Defiant goes, "Sir, there's another ship. It's coming in." Worf's like, "Huh?" He goes, "It's the Enterprise." And then Worf's like, "Today might not be a good day to die."
Right. But yeah, like, you know, like on First Contact, you know, they, you know, like you always, like on First Contact or other movies, Enterprise is right there. They weren't right there, you know, so that was a different thing to see, you know, like the elite ship of the fleet was not.
Like the first movie of the new timeline, when they are late getting to Vulcan, and when they get there, it's just all blown up ships. It's like that same feeling of, you know, we're too late.
Yeah.
But also that if we had been here, we'd probably all be dead.
Right, exactly. And I think probably it was in that battle scene of part 1 where Cisco's wife died. She died in that battle.
Yeah.
And that's where the bitterness and the resentment, as you saw between Cisco and Picard in episode 1 of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
So, which understandable, you know, so. But yeah, but like, just imagine like carrying that guilt as Picard was trying to process thousands upon thousands of lives.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, how does one process that, you know?
You know, I mean, that truly, there was nothing he could have done about it. You know, I don't know why, it made me think of how a drunk driver or just anyone who gets in an accident and kills people. And I mean, that's an everyday thing that people deal with all the time.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's hard to live with. So.
Yeah.
But like, right. And it's just like when at the very end of part 2, where I think it was Deanna Troi asked him, it's like, what do you remember? And then it was a pause. He went, everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be rough.
That would be rough. All right. Well, thank you guys. I want to say thank you to my crew members, DC and Dennis, for joining me today to talk about Best of Both Worlds, part 1 and 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will be discussing future episodes of Star Trek, be it The Enterprise, Picard, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, you know, whatever episode people want to discuss, that's great. We're all for it. So please like and subscribe to our channel. It's the Stella Pirata channel on YouTube. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you guys later.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
Where's me rum?